Okay, welcome to another episode of Fortunes and Freedom. Y'all know me, Joe Pellegrino. Y'all know this guy, Mr. Andrew Beach.
I feel like a regular now.
You are a regular. You absolutely are a regular. Man, today's actually a really, really special day. Before we get into all our stuff, I do want to point out that today is Andrew and my partniversary. Love it, man.
It's been the quickest year of my life, I think.
Friggin' unbelievably fast. But at the same time, it feels like that was so long ago.
I think this just because we've done so much in the last 12 months. It's mind-boggling to look at. I was looking at some of the campaigns just a year ago where we were, how strategies have evolved. It's exciting, man. It's good to look back and see that.
It is. It's funny. I was actually just sending Gabi, our new marketing director who was on the last episode, I was sending her a bunch of sample emails from Maxim CEO that we wrote a year ago, and just reading through them. I'm like, my goodness. It's just, everything is just totally different now.
Yeah, were they that bad?
They weren't bad. No, they weren't bad. They were just like, it was more like the campaigns weren't good. Like the content of the emails were great, but the campaigns were like, really? That's what we were doing?
We were testing out some angles.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it really is funny.
Yeah, I was even some of like the old funnels. We started with webinar funnels with them, just looking at the copy, what we were driving ads to. It's good to learn from your mistakes. We'll leave it at that.
100%.
Yep.
And that we have done in the past year for sure.
Yep.
Well, today, what I wanted to kind of bring up is something that you've been talking a lot about.
Everybody's talking about
Everybody's talking about it, and you specifically have been. I know this has been like the bane of your existence, and that is tracking.
Yeah.
So
Freaking Apple, man.
Freaking Apple.
Yeah. So about 6 months ago, Apple released the new iOS update that basically, I would say, curveball would not be the right term, but screwed over.
More like a kick in the nuts kind of thing.
Yeah. Screwed over a lot of us Facebook advertisers, and that battle between Apple and Facebook hasn't improved. Thankfully, there are some innovators and entrepreneurs out there who have figured out some tracking tools that we've been trying. And for us, it's been a 6-month process here figuring this out. And literally today was the day we kind of, I think, solved it.
Maybe hit a corner, yeah.
And so you guys know, from an analytical approach, we obviously sell a bunch of different e-commerce things. We sell other products. We've been missing about 30% of our tracking for purchase conversions.
And what's the problem with that? Why is that? Well, what's the big deal with that?
Well, there's a lot of problems. The main one is you don't know which ads to scale. If you don't know which ones are performing, even if it's just one sale, that could be a determining factor of you seeing an ad profitable or not. And so, if you're taking 30% of your tracking away, you can make educated guesses. Obviously, we still can scale things, but it's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
And when you see all the purchases, what ads are coming from, exactly how they're performing, what the ROAS is for them, that just makes it so much easier to say, hey, this one's working, let's up the budget. Rather than having to do all these, loop arounds and double track everything and triple track everything. And yeah, it's about 10 times more work to figure out where a purchase comes from than it used to be 6 months ago.
Right, and like you said, it ends up being just educated guesses. And be like, yeah, well, ads similar to this one are doing well, so probably this one is just one that hasn't been tracking, so we'll scale that one too. And yeah, I've seen obviously I'm not as much in that as you are, right? But I've seen the frustration, and it's palpable, and I feel bad.
Yeah, and so what makes it even worse is there's really only a few tools out there that are available to fix that tracking.
Well, let's take a couple steps back though. What's the problem? Like, why did that happen? Like, what? I know there was a problem. Whatever was going on between Apple and Facebook. Go a little more deeper into that.
Yeah. So I'm not I wouldn't say I'm an expert in this, but from my understanding, the new iOS update, I think it was 14, introduced this new concept of privacy for iPhone users. And I believe it was automatically introduced, meaning that the majority of Apple users with new phones, this was, switched on. Yeah, it was switched on, and they actually had to switch it off. Or, they were asking you, do you not want to be tracked by all these companies? Most people are going to click no just because they value their privacy probably more now than ever. So, yeah, it was, that is, I would say, the basis of the problem. And Apple obviously hasn't changed, and Facebook hasn't done anything to improve it. So basically, your only options at this point were guessing what was working or finding one of these other companies that built specific tools to help you track. And so we've looked at a bunch of them. There's some good ones. There's some bad ones. All of them are expensive. That's kind of the unfortunate part, is they realize that this is a new tool that everyone that advertises on Facebook is going to need, and they charge through the roof. So, I mean, we've tried Magix, we've tried Hyros, we've tried this new one we're using is anytrack.io. There's a bunch more out there you can check out. We, I think, are sticking with anytrack.io.
Okay.
From a cost perspective, it's definitely the most appropriate. And as of today, our conversions are being tracked. So
really,
breath of fresh air.
Really,
Yeah,
well, that's exciting.
Yeah, we had Mac CEO just today. I was looking at a few minutes ago. We had 2 purchases weren't tracked on Facebook. Add to carts have been tracked, but the purchases haven't. So we don't know which purchases they came from. And I'm actually still on the free trial of anytrack.io, but basically it shows you exactly what ad the purchase came from, as well as the journey that the customer makes. So if they click on an ad, what landing page are they on, where they go next, ultimately to purchase, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like ClickFunnels in a sense, where you can see, the full journey of someone on your funnel and what made them ultimately purchase. So from an advertising perspective, that's
that's huge.
It's everything, man.
Yeah, man, that's really, really exciting.
My confidence is now through the roof.
That's
The fact that we've been making it work pretty well with 70%.
Right.
Is, I applaud our team, Aiden, Joey, you, me, all the guys working on the ads. It's been tough.
Yeah.
It's been tough. So very happy that it's a Friday, end of the week. We've kind of,
great way to end the week.
Fingers crossed. We're going to let it run this weekend and double check. But
I was going to say, what do you think the likelihood that this is like real? Like this is, that this is going to stay this way?
I think it's pretty real, man.
It seems pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it worked today. It's been on for probably 4 hours. We got 2 purchases within that time frame, and showed me exactly what ads they came from. Went into Facebook, no purchase there. So.
And did you? So you've got it hooked up for Mac CEO. Obviously, do you have it hooked up for NurtureBit as well?
No, so we're just testing out Max.
Max.
Yep. I think the free trial you get one brand, I guess, one pixel to track, and then the basic plan I think is $50 a month for 3 brands, and then it goes up to. That's not bad considering the efficiency that's going to provide. Oh yeah.
And what ultimately that's going to yield.
Yep. Yeah, it should pay for itself immediately, and that's we looked at Hyros a couple weeks ago.
That was several hundred, wasn't it?
Several thousand, yeah. Extremely expensive, and for larger brands, it makes sense. It's probably a little bit better of a platform than AnyTrack, a little bit more developed. But the truth is, like, we just want to know where purchases are. And
right.
From. Like, we don't need all the fancy bells and whistles. So yeah, we opted not going that route, and I feel very happy where we're going.
Good, man. Good. Fantastic job on that, because that's huge. That's literally the lifeblood of our company, is being able to track conversions and track where those are coming from.
Yeah, I mean, you said it in our last episode, like, we're results oriented.
Right.
Like, if we can't tell you where the results are coming from, like, what's our business?
The point? Right.
So
right. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, screw Apple, but
I mean, smart move on their part.
Yeah, very
smart. I think their brand trust jumped dramatically with this.
Yeah.
However, most people don't realize that with this whole thing, it's actually not hurting Facebook and Apple. It's hurting the advertisers who use Facebook. And so, the problem I have with the privacy, I want people to have privacy. I want privacy as well. But the majority of people who advertise on Facebook are small business owners. And that's basically who got screwed over. The big brands, they're working with such high budgets that they're not worried about the, tiny little what purchase ads, what purchase did these ad sets come from. They're spending so much money that I'm sure they have other tools that can track and stuff. And so unfortunately the small business owner took the hard hit this time.
Shafted. Yeah. So what do you think obviously Facebook is a key platform that we specifically use, along with Google and YouTube that goes along with that. What do you think is coming up? Like, what do you think is a direction that brand managers and ad agencies need to sort of move into from a platform perspective?
That's a great question. So typically when we look and strategize our campaigns, we kind of do some tests. We'll test out Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, basically, the major 5. LinkedIn's the other one in there. I actually believe TikTok, I think, is actually, for most brands, if it's a e-commerce brand or under $500 purchase, that's probably the new platform you want to be on. I remember back in the day when Facebook ads first came out, it was the Wild West. Like there was crazy stuff going on that, they didn't have the technology perfected. I remember, you could actually hack other people's site and drop your pixel code into their site. I can't remember how you do it, but there's people like stealing data from their competitors, and it was wild. But at the same time, it was probably the most profitable time because you weren't competing with a lot of people for ads, and people weren't used to buying on the platform, and then started seeing really good options and offers, and then obviously turned into the beast it is today. And TikTok, I feel like, is kind of just moving into that area. What platforms do you think? Have you seen anything that you?
No, TikTok does seem to be the big dog. And as a 30-something-year-old, I keep trying to understand the allure of TikTok, like from a consumer perspective.
It's so weird.
It is. It's so bizarre, and I don't understand. I don't understand what people's mindset is when they're using it. I keep seeing all these like dances and stuff like that, and like
I think it originated as like a dance app. Like you were supposed to go on and dance and sing on it. And I guess it just never got off the ground, so they kind of opened it up to like, hey, just do whatever.
Right.
And freedom of expression, people like that,
No, for sure. And I think the mindset that you have when you're on TikTok is completely different from what you have on Facebook or on Instagram.
That's a great point.
It's a totally different mindset going into it. I mean, when you think about like scrolling on Facebook or even scrolling on Instagram, I don't get the impression as a user that TikTok is the same type of It's still scrolling, obviously. You're scrolling through videos, but it's more about like, I feel like you're consuming the information or the content that you're seeing a little bit more intentionally. Sound on. TikTok is really big with sound, whether it be voiceovers, music, whatever it is. Whereas Instagram, like I may be in the minority here, but I don't use sound when I'm on Instagram.
Oh,
okay. If there's a video that like I really want to watch, I'll tap it and listen to it. But I always prefer if there's subtitles or something like that. And
advertisers always put subtitles on.
Always put
Half
subtitles.
of your traffic on Instagram doesn't listen.
Yep.
So if you don't have copy on there, you're missing out.
But on the other hand, TikTok, I feel like you go into that and you have to keep your sound on. Like that's the reason you're there in the first place.
Yep.
So your mind is in a different place when you're there as a consumer, and so I think advertisers just need to they need to curate their content accordingly.
Yep.
And make sure that they're producing for that type of a mindset.
So do you think because Instagram and Facebook are both, post oriented, that could be, photo or video, and TikTok just being video, that like it has helped engagement, or is that what's keeps people, like, for example, I was on TikTok the other night for like 3 hours just watching videos, and embarrassing to admit that, but it really draws you in, and it's one after the next,
Right, that's what it is. It's one after the next, after the next, after the next. It's not like you're scrolling and you're kind of like having to like evaluate. Like you can evaluate if you want to keep watching a video instantly.
Yep.
And it's just, and I think that's what it is. I think we're in a binge. We live in a binging culture, and TikTok makes it easy and convenient to binge. We'll call them high quality clips, right? It's binge content that's put in front of you, that's sort of within the parameters of what you're looking to look at.
Yep.
And it's a different kind of thing. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, there's a lot more. I don't know if fluff is the right word, but there's just more to navigate, kind of.
Yeah, I would even say like the user experience. Like you're a designer. Like I hate the Facebook user experience. When you're scrolling on the feed, it's like
there's too much on Facebook now. It's very overwhelming.
I agree. Even
Very
Instagram, you got all these things showing up and left and right. Now you got Reels, and there's just. And
Reels obviously are basically TikTok, but I think what makes it a little bit. Frankly, it's what makes a user like me use Instagram, where it has like multiple options. But I also see I see that being a source of disengagement. Whereas TikTok, because it is simple, it is one thing, it is just one after the next after the next. I feel like that's a recipe for a simple-minded pea brains just consuming content.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next platform is, because if you look at like the history, like Facebook got huge because of the social actually connection with other people.
Yeah.
Instagram got huge because of photos first, then even bigger because of videos. TikTok, we've been telling our clients for the last 12 months, like video's everything. Everything's going in that direction. Obviously, we see a platform like TikTok where it's only videos. and it works tremendously well.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see like what's the next evolution. Like I think we don't advertise on Snapchat really. I think we played around with it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Snapchat,
Yeah, I
to be
just
honest.
straight up don't understand. I was.
I'm a
Were
married man,
you
I
ever
still-
on Snapchat?
I don't think so.
I just never did. I don't know why. I just was kind of, just never did.
Yeah, me and my wife, we joke around all the time. Like all of our single friends are on Snapchat. That's how you know someone's single.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool. I mean, it's video quality is getting better. The new phones that are coming out, it's easier to take videos just like this and produce some decently high quality content.
Yeah, I mean, what iPhones produce, I mean, fantastic.
Yep. So it'll be cool to see. I'm excited for that. But as far as platforms go, I think it kind of depends on obviously your strategy, but what your brand is. LinkedIn, for example, like I wouldn't sell something that I was selling on TikTok on LinkedIn.
No.
It's completely opposite
Totally
markets.
opposite market, yeah.
But Facebook and Instagram happen to pair very well, which is interesting. We look at nurture bed stats, and originally we had 10-to-1 Instagram purchases compared to Facebook, but it's actually kind of evened out now. It's about 60-40, 55-45.
Facebook really has done I guess I would say they've done a good job of sort of marrying the platforms really, really well, where you've got that sort of cross-platform posting. So I use, for me personally, Instagram is sort of my primary platform, but everything I post on Instagram also gets posted to Facebook, including my stories. So I'm getting interaction sort of on both ends of it, and we'll call it audience. My Facebook audience is very different from my Instagram audience. It's just a different. It's like you're getting. I don't know. It's hard to explain. That's more from a personal perspective rather than from a brand perspective. But it is still interesting to see that the interaction and engagement that I get on Instagram is very different from Facebook, even though it's the same exact content.
Yep. Yeah. And that's very nice. Your pixels work for both on Facebook, so tracking makes it easy. TikTok, funny enough, I was in the ad manager the other day, and basically it's the exact same thing as Facebook ads.
Yeah.
You create a pixel, they use the same, conversion terminology, bidding. So obviously Facebook did something right when they launched this, and I think we'll see several other platforms starting to use this kind of stuff and get more into it. So
what do you see with like pay-per-click campaigns and stuff like that? I mean, a lot of people come to us and they say, "Oh, you guys do digital marketing. I want to get a Google campaign going." What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so pay-per-clicks, I used to love it. I'm not as into it anymore because I think once again, YouTube is now the second biggest search engine. And I think as we get older, the younger generation grows, people want answers via video. They don't want to just click on an ad and go to someone's website. So it used to be an extremely profitable tool if you know how to do it. It's pretty competitive now.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a huge revenue producer for Google, so they're continuing to push it. But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Like I think service-based businesses, local service-based businesses, you should be running pay-per-click. However, big brand stuff you're selling internationally or nationally, the competition is just too high. You have to be able to geo-fence your market, limit your cost per acquisition. And if you're running a national ad campaign, unless it's a very niche product, it's kind of tough to do that.
Yeah.
Because you have, one of the cool things about Google Ads is you can basically research your competitors' keywords, steal them, and then bid for them higher than they will.
Right.
So let's say, I'm Ben & Jerry's and you're Haagen-Dazs, and I know that you have, you're getting really good ROI off this campaign. I can basically just research through, Google's tools, forecast volumes, and keyword search. Even go on your website, get all the best keywords off it, and then just, pay a little bit more than you do and steal your leads. So that's kind of the aggravating part is you're always in a competition for pay-per-click. Whereas Facebook, you bid for obviously impressions and results, but it's a different format.
Well, it's almost like it's really the difference between interruption marketing and search-based marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That literally is the difference between social media marketing and search engine marketing, where the point of being in a pay-per-click campaign is to make sure that you're found when someone's looking for you.
Yep.
Whereas with Facebook, Instagram, all that, we are interrupting people that we think would be interested in our product and putting it in front of their faces.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. The strategies are almost completely the opposite. Mm-hmm. So with Facebook, you cast a wide net and you narrow it down, and then you ultimately want to find like lookalike audiences and multiply those. Whereas Google Ads, the best campaigns I've ever run specifically the key factor is actually negative keywords. It's bidding for the words that you don't want to show up for, and really, really like narrowing down your search so you show up for exactly what people are searching for. Google does a great job of offering recommendations and saying, hey, you should try bidding on these words, and obviously they want to make more money from
Right.
and that's a lot of people make those mistakes, is rather than just up the bid on the keywords that are performing, they go, oh, let's add these other keywords and see if we can get something from this, and before you know it, you spend a couple $100 and probably didn't get much.
Yeah, it's just a totally different way of marketing.
Yeah.
Going search based versus interruption based.
And so from a tracking perspective, it's funny. I feel like the older generation loves Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager and the way Google tracks.
Well, because that was
the original.
What it was, yeah.
Yeah. They were the first. They get all the credit. However, I think Facebook, Instagram, it's such a better platform to run ads, to manage it, to be able to do everything that you need. If you go into Google, Google Workspace or your ad manager, like there's so many pieces of it now. And I've done some certification courses before and sat through webinars and teachings from Google, corporate. And there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of stuff that like they want you to spend time doing this, so you're not focused on the good stuff. And that for me is kind of frustrating. The majority of marketers out there aren't experts in any one field, but they need to be good in several of these fields. So you got to know the basics. I feel like if you can get an ROI from a Facebook campaign, an Instagram campaign, a TikTok campaign, and a Google campaign at the same time, that's how you crush it.
Yeah.
It honestly, it's like investing. If you diversify where your money is, you'll last longer. So big fan of Google. I think YouTube is kind of where everything's moving. But YouTube's tough, man. It's YouTube ads have only been around for a couple years now. And typically when people are, it's kind of like a mix of social and search, because a lot of the people that are on YouTube are social people. You watch their social channels, you want to see their vlogs and their videos. And so it's kind of weird where people are, it's tough to get ads in front of the right people. The cool thing is if you happen to do it the right way and you get good results off, your initial testing, finding new audiences is a lot easier, I think, on Google than it is on Facebook.
Sure, fair enough.
Google does a pretty good job of like showing you channels that are similar, and there's just more. I think there's just more videos on Google than there are, individual profiles or groups of profiles of people, segments, I guess you can call them, on Facebook. If we're just targeting, dog food on Facebook, it's let's say there's 2 million people. However, dog food searched on Google also relays to YouTube, and there could be hundreds of millions of searches for that. So it's interesting.
Very, very interesting stuff, man. It really is crazy how the difference between traditional marketing and now what we do is, it's just night and day, and it's just incredible how granularly we can target, and how now that everything's sort of set, how we can track those conversions. And it's incredible what we have available to us from a technology perspective that 10, 15, 20 years ago just didn't exist. It was about mailers. It was about billboards. It was, about all those things. And that's just not the way of it right now. Those are still viable forms of marketing, but they need to be a little bit more intentionally used, right? We wouldn't put up a billboard for NurtureBed.
Yep.
Like that's not, we just wouldn't even think to do that. And that's,
maybe. Actually,
hang on. Okay.
Probably pretty cheap now. No.
I was gonna say, but no, it's a totally different kind of way of looking at it. And that's why on our last episode, I was talking to Gabi Sanamor, our new marketing director, and it's fascinating to kind of hear from where she comes from, because she comes from that traditional marketing sort of world.
Yep.
And I think the reason that we were so keen to bring her on is because it's what can she, first of all, she looks at things from a much wider scope than. I should say she widens our scope, but also all of that marketing know-how is fully translatable into the digital marketing side of things and the funneling. And I think that's what I'm most interested in getting at her. But it's just two totally different worlds, the traditional versus digital.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've spoken about like the front half of the funnel, which is typically the ads, tracking, all that. Where do you see the back half of tracking going, like ClickFunnels, their new software obviously coming up, A/B splits, all that kind of stuff? Like what do you see like is the biggest value, and where do you see kind of us moving
Yeah,
with that?
Yeah, man. I mean, you just mentioned the new ClickFunnels platform. 2.0 is coming out in the next couple of months. We're going to be beta testing it, so I'm sure we'll be reviewing that. But, man, you're able to do so much more now on all these web platforms. You have so much more ability. Things are in a sense simpler, even though features have gotten more extensive, right? So you think of platforms like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify. I mean, the fact that there are all of these different website builders that literally anybody could jump. My mother could jump on and make a website. Probably isn't going to look good, but theoretically she could, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible that all these things are out there. But this is really where guys like us start to separate ourselves from that in terms of the way that they're used, because anybody can make a website, and frankly, any designer can make a really beautiful website.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if the front end of the funnel isn't working, we're not getting people to it, and then the back end of the funnel isn't working, where we're actually converting them, whichever route we need to go, whether it be leads or sales, then the whole thing's worthless, right? Yeah. So things like ClickFunnels and testing different landing pages, and there's just so many different ways that you go about it, and so. Whereas with ad vehicles, there's sort of, there's a handful of them, right? There's
really not too much design besides the creative.
Right,
it's kind of like this is the way you do it, and that's it.
Right.
Whereas you guys kind of have ultimate freedom on the back end,
Kinda, yeah. And it's almost overwhelming how many options of things that can be done. I mean, from email drip campaigns to webinar funnels. There's just so many different ways to take that traffic that you've provided to us and turn it into a conversion, again, whichever route that is. And but tracking is incredibly important through that whole process.
Yep.
I got to know what ad you created, what copy ultimately led to the sale, so that you can make more of those and we can scale our budget accordingly.
Yep.
And on the back end, I got to know which emails are the emails that are, bringing the conversions in. Which links are being clicked on that are turning into conversions.
Yep.
There's so many layers to it, and that's why us being very results driven, the way that we win for our clients is by literally granularly looking at it through the entire process.
Yep.
But at the same time, you can't overcomplicate it, because if you overcomplicate your funnel, you don't know where things are going wrong. You don't know where, it's
even with tracking, it's a nightmare.
Even with
too many things going on.
Well, it's probably more of a nightmare with tracking when too many things are going on, because basically, I'm a big overcomplicator. That's kind of my shtick, and I have really worked hard to sort of devolve from that, because a 35-step funnel might seem really cool. It might sound like it's really going to work.
It might wow a client.
It probably will wow a client. I mean, I think of a funnel. I think of the TSP funnel. I mean, I thought that was pretty incredible, but that was very, very complicated.
It was.
And there wasn't there's not, when you're not getting results as a designer, as a developer, your sort of innate kind of feeling is, okay, I have to do more. I have to add more. It's not functional enough, right? Mm-hmm. But in most cases, when things aren't converting, it's really just down to your hook story offer. It's really just down to, a piece of what you've already built.
Yep.
And how do you sort of take that simple framework and fix it where it needs to be fixed?
Yep.
So by keeping it simple, you're able to track it through a lot more cleanly,
yep.
Make better decisions, and ultimately get better conversions.
So let me ask you, because it's now so much easier for anybody to build a web page, do you think that the emphasis, when people are looking at whether their e-commerce brand is actually converting, do you think the emphasis typically gets pushed onto the front end, like, oh, my ads aren't performing, and they kind of forget about, hey, you need to focus on your conversion page itself? Do you think they get lost in that mess where, I know we do it, for example, like, hey, these ads aren't converting, and we forget about, there's people clicking, they're still going to the page, we're not getting conversions.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you because our world is broken up into two pieces. We'll call it the front end and the back end of the funnel, traffic and conversions. You tend to sort of get stuck on one side of it at a time. And it's always, I mean, one thing that we can track very, very cleanly, even without our new tracking software, is how many people are coming to the page.
Yep.
So if we have a funnel where we're spending XYZ on ads and we're getting substantial traffic but no conversions, that to me tells me it's on the back end of the funnel. It's a problem with the page. There's the call to action's wrong, the offer's wrong, the hook store, whatever it is.
Yep.
If we're not getting traffic at all, our impressions are weird, and we're not really getting any movement, well, we know it's on the ads.
Yep.
To one degree or another. Yep. But I think you're right. I think, we have each of us we'll call it on each team has the tendency to blame our own side.
Yep.
And get sort of stuck on what we feel like we can control.
Yep.
And sometimes, just broadening that view into the whole funnel will help you to see, okay, well, hang on a second. It can't be this because there's no traffic coming to the page. So it ain't my fault.
Yeah. No, that's actually, you highlighted earlier, Gabi having this overview kind of site different than ours, where, historically for the last year and change, like it's been very, hey, your traffic, I'm web. We'll see if we can make this work. I think having that third person kind of being like, hey, your traffic cost is good, but it could be better. Hey, your page is converting on this funnel, but it's not on this side. I think that's going to help us a lot. Yeah. Because I think our strengths are, unique in the sense that we started this as ads and, design. And the fact that we've made it work and we've been able to figure out where our problems are, I think it all kind of boils back down to that marketing math. We heard Dan Kennedy mention that at ClickFunnels, where it's not rocket science to figure out where you've gone wrong. But if you don't understand the basic maths of what a good click-through rate is, what a cost per lead should be, what your average value order of a customer is, then you're screwed from the start, because you have no way to improve it if you don't know what your benchmarks are. It's something I've been teaching young Joey Galino. He's one of our project managers here. We've had a bad tendency of just kind of throwing up a bunch of ads and seeing which click, rather than setting up almost like a foundation platform where we put out ads and we see what our benchmark numbers are by just broad marketing. Let Facebook do its thing on its own. Tell us if we're just going to push this out to everybody out there, what's our base cost? Because you can always improve. If we get better targeting, we have better ads, you'll see your click-through rates go up, your costs, per lead go down, your engagement go up. And I think that's something that a lot of people just skip over. They don't let Facebook do its thing. It's a really good platform, and we've had, campaigns that have been successful without any targeting at all, which ironically a lot of guys are doing now because of the whole iOS update. They feel that the audiences have been tampered with, and they're not performing as well. There's a lot of data you can review on that if you Google search. And they're, guys like Peng Joon are not even targeting people for all their campaigns. They're just letting Facebook do it and hoping that it's going to work out. And Facebook's pretty good at what it does.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, and so if you don't understand how the algorithm of Facebook and all these things work, that's something you have to research too. Yeah. It's pretty scary that every single thing is tracked. How long you look at something, what you click on, what you save, what you scroll through, what you hide, what you like, what you comment on. And the more, and it's honestly, it's not even just you, it's actually your community too. So your friends, what they're clicking on, if you have 10 friends out of 20 on Facebook that like an ad, you're going to see that ad. So it's interesting how it's evolved over the years, where it used to be very, very specific. Like you pick out an interest, you mark to that, and that was it. Yeah. But now, Facebook's improved. They obviously want people to win. They don't want you to have an unprofitable ROI, but they want you to spend money too. So, you kind of see it from their side, where provide better software that helps target a little bit more, but then, lose some tracking and some other things. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, like we started off saying, today marks exactly 1 year that we shook hands. Salud.
Yep.
Centiani.
Hey.
And so much has changed from October 15th, 2020 to October 15th, 2021.
Yep. We were in an office about this size.
Yep. Maybe
smaller.
Podcast
yeah. And now this is one of one 5 rooms in the office.
Exactly.
And,
yeah. I mean, even from that, I mean, it was just you and I. Now there's 6 of us. I mean, there's so many things that have changed, even with how we do things, the results that we've gotten for our clients, the things that we're getting into internally. I mean, we had talked about, e-commerce and doing our own internal stuff a year ago, and it took almost a full year to get to a point where we were ready to kind of pull the trigger on that. So a lot of exciting stuff. What do you think we're going to be talking about on October 15th, 2020? On October 15th, 2022. What do you think? What do you think our conversation looks like a year from today?
That's a good question. Haven't thought about that. Well, $1 Million Club is something that I'm sure will be fresh on our minds. That's our goal. If we haven't mentioned that before,
Yep.
have two comma club awards at ClickFunnels Conference September next year.
Yep.
So that would obviously be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're kind of going down this path now where we haven't switched our products necessarily, but we kind of switched our strategy for the e-commerce side, where we're no longer looking for winning products, we're looking for purchasing audiences. Mm-hmm. And so right now we have an audience that's performing extremely well for NurtureBed. And rather than go find another product that might be selling to, I don't know, people that like fast food or something else, I think the major difference we're going to have in a year is that we have 5 winning audiences that all have different products selling directly to those people, rather than 5 e-commerce products that are just selling. And I think we've learned in a very short time here that you can sell more than one product to an audience that buys things.
Yep.
And that's truly how not only make better margins, but make more money as a whole. For example, we're talking about NurtureBed earlier, and we have a new product that we're developing that we ordered some samples for, and we're going to start selling. And one of the crazy things I was thinking about when I was building out like the revenue model, I was like, oh, we put all this money into ad spend. And I was like kind of ashamed of myself. That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, here we have 500 purchasers over the last 3 months of NurtureBed that have spent $100 or more with us. Mm-hmm. We have tons of data from the Pixel. We have email lists. We have Facebook groups we can tap into. There's a lot of other avenues than just spending money immediately. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll have some pretty unique strategies. I'm excited to see some of the Facebook groups that we've launched, see how they perform. Mm-hmm. Even with like a brand like High Mojo, one of our clients' brands, how we can get something else for that. I even see that something like on LinkedIn for them. And I've done some LinkedIn marketing in the past, and didn't have great success. If I'm being honest, it's a tough platform to figure something out on, unless you're like a service-based business. I go back to like your accountant, and you have a local network, and people recommend you and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting, man. I'm pumped to see the new software that comes out for ClickFunnels. That looks like a game changer. Yep. We can't wait to move off PayPal and Shopify and all these platforms, Facebook that crash constantly. And so yeah, it's gonna be exciting. How about you? What do you think we'll be?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that we have reached a level of
we're definitely gonna need more space. We're basically running out of space.
Yeah, so we're definitely running out of space. Yeah, so I think that we're sort of reaching a level where we know what we need now. Mm-hmm. We know who we need. We know how to. I think 6-7 months ago we were more like, okay, we need I need a person to do this, and this, and I need that. And now I think we've kind of reached a stage where we're like, okay, I don't need a full person to do this, so I can offload this to somebody that's already on the team, or we can subcontract that out for a minimal cost. Yep. Really understanding where our operational efficiencies lie have really, I think that really helps. I think that bodes really well for the future for us.
Yep.
Keeping overhead as tight as possible so that we can just continue to grow, grow our accounts, grow our products, et cetera. Yep. I think you're 100% right, on the product side, and I'm excited to see what kind of new strategies we develop over the next year that are going to be, incredible. I'm excited to see what happens with a couple of our big brands, Maxim CEO, our client, High Mojo, another client. Really excited to see what happens with them. At the same time, I'm really hoping that we can sort of I'm hoping that we can get a little bit out of the client game a year from now. I'm hoping that our client responsibilities are largely strategy rather than deliverable oriented. Yep. Because we have found that the DIY type stuff for clients works really, really well, where we can sit them down, we can help them figure out what they need, and then tell them to skedaddle. Yep. Some clients are going to want to continue working with us, as we've seen in the past, and at that point, they're paying a premium because our time is worth more now because of what we're able to produce internally, and I think that will continue to grow because really for us, I mean, strategy is what I enjoy the most. I know it's what you enjoy the most at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, we have our sort of,
especially when you win, that's the best part.
exactly. And I think, you know, we have our sort of our operational capabilities. You want more on the traffic side, me more on the development side. But at the end of the day, it's strategy that we enjoy the most. And I love sitting in a room with a client doing one of our $1,000 strategy packages, which you can apply for anytime at jmichaelstrategies.com. That is the most fun to me because it's a no strings attached. We can just throw everything at the wall, really help our clients to figure out the best way of moving the ball down the field, because so many people don't realize. We talked about strategy on an episode before, so I'm not going to go back into that. But I love being able to offer that to clients. And then, you know, if they really feel like they want to hire us long term at that point, well, we already know them really well. We already know what their strategy is. We already know what they need, what their expectations are, and it's easy to move into that relationship with them.
Yep.
So anyway, I think it'll be really interesting to see where we're at a year from now. But I see nothing but upward trajectory for us. I like, honestly, and you know me, I'm a pessimist. I really am. Yep. I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy, and I don't see a downtrend coming for us. That doesn't mean that, you know, things won't be rocky here and there over the next year. I just don't see us doing anything but win.
Yeah. It's incredible to think that we've gotten this far without a salesperson.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, we are,
but like we haven't put an emphasis onto, hey, let's go sell.
No, we never have.
It's been, hey, do you guys want a referral? And we're like, I guess we'll talk to them and
right.
see how it goes. So, you know, in that sense, I have a lot of faith that we are doing things right. Our customers love us. They like what we're doing. Obviously, if we're making them money, they're happy. But I think one thing I'm very proud of that we've done over the past 12 months and moving forward is be much more selective with who we work with.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much more enjoyable. When you like the customer, you like their product, you like what they sell, what they stand for, even their morals, who they are as a person. That makes it so much better. And it makes it more rewarding for us, too.
So much better.
Rather than working for that, excuse my language, but jackass who thinks he knows everything and just, you know, wants to run the show his way and doesn't take good advice. And
doesn't take us seriously.
It's a waste of money on his time and you know.
It is. At the end of the day, it's a waste of money on his time, and we don't need to work with him.
And that's honestly the cool thing about strategy is if there's no strings attached in the back end, we'll be as honest with you as possible.
Exactly. If we don't actually have to do anything, like if we don't, that's the thing.
We're always honest, by the way.
Always honest, but that's the thing. Like when we are the ones that ultimately have to deliver, sometimes we're providing suggestions that are based on what our current capabilities are, rather than, you know, a whole wide world of what you could accomplish, right? But when there's no strings attached, when there is no feeling of pressure on our end of, oh crap, we're gonna have to do this, I really don't want to do this, then it's more like, hey, you should do this, and this is gonna, I mean, and we can sort of push you off to whoever is going to help you with that.
Yep.
That's just a much better situation for everybody, client especially.
Yep.
And it helps us to stay. It helps us keep our integrity from that perspective. Yep. And I think we're big. At least me, I'm a big reverse seller. I like almost like selling you on why you shouldn't work with me, so that when you do decide to work with me, I feel fantastic about that, because
sales guy.
I know. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I mean, never in a million years ever thought that. But I believe in what I'm selling, so that's the difference.
And you know, that's the confidence that we've had over the past year. That's something I'm very thankful for. I go into a campaign now feeling very good. We're going to get results, very confident. If we don't, we know what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've made the mistakes now. We know how to pivot, what's wrong with the strategy, where we need to move. And that's a breath of fresh air, because a year ago, I think we knew what we needed to do, but we didn't know precisely the right way to do it.
There wasn't the confidence that we have today. There was like a hope. It was more of a hopeful spirit rather than like this should work. And now a year from then, we know this does work.
Yep.
And that's all the difference.
Yeah, and especially even showing clients like other campaigns, like, hey, you're in the same realm. This is something that's worked for somebody that we've done. This could work for you as well. Mm-hmm. I think that gives them faith that, like, hey, these guys know my industry. They know who we are. And the thing about strategy that everybody seems to miss is that you need outside strategy. If you're the business owner, even if you're the marketing director of your own company and you think you have strategy dialed in, you might have good campaigns, but you need those fresh eyes outside. Mm-hmm. I can't emphasize it enough that people who run businesses, even ourselves, you get stuck doing the same thing. You find a little success in one area, you forget to, and to be honest, you don't have the time to research and do all this stuff.
No, and you shouldn't be expected to. I mean, as a business owner, you wear so many hats already. Pass the strategy hat off to somebody else.
Yeah,
that knows what they're doing.
And if the job's done right, you're going to see an ROI of it.
Exactly.
It's going to make you money. So rather than shy away from strategy and $1,000 price tag, invest in it, and you're going to learn more about your business than you would having your own employees tell you about it or your customers or anything like that.
Exactly.
So
no, exactly. Well, this is our longest episode ever. Sorry, guys, but I think this was some seriously solid content for our partnerversary.
That's right.
Special.
Yep. We're gonna get some steaks later, and
that's right.
Have a good night.
That's right. Well, thank you, all 5 of you, for listening. Hi, Mom. Really appreciate your time. We know you have a limited number of minutes in the day, and we appreciate that you spent 45 of them with us today.
Yeah.
And you know where to find us. Find us on Instagram at Fortunes Freedom. Find me personally at Joe Pellegrino, at Andrew_Beach. Reach out to us personally. Please leave a comment down in this video, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, leave us a comment as well. Hit subscribe, little notification thing, so you know when we have a new episode. We're putting these out pretty much weekly, sometimes more than that. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks, bud.
All right.